Scientific primary literature, those very detailed, jargon-filled reports of studies written by the researchers who conducted them. Whether you are a college or university student or anyone looking for scientific information, a common reaction to primary literature, often published as a journal article, is that it is very hard to understand. Besides the specialized jargon, there can be tables, graphs, statistical tests, genetic sequences, and on and on. Very densely packed information, clearly written for people with prior knowledge, other researchers in the field. However, despite this, there are ways to unpack the primary article to glean specific pieces of useful information, as well as gain a better understanding of the research. How to do that? Follow the science matrix. Science primary literature, published as a journal article, often, not always, but often, has a standard format in the way the article is organized. That format is introduction, materials and methods, results, discussion conclusion, and references. These 5 sections can be used to obtain different kinds of useful information. The introduction. In other videos, we have talked about the value of reviews, overviews, summaries of interconnected research. Reviews can save time and provide a perspective and thereby aid the understanding of primary research. The introduction of a primary article is a miniature review. It highlights key research from the past, which has built the foundation that is supporting the current research, what has been learned, and based on that, what the current research is trying to achieve. Introductions are sometimes easier to understand than the rest of the article. Reading the abstract, the introduction, and the conclusion is a good way to get a quick sense of a primary article. Finally, writing an introduction to a scientific paper is a common assignment for students after doing or simulating an experiment. Materials and methods. This section of the primary article explains how the experiment was carried out in great detail. Experimental apparatus, field experiment setup, methods of data collection, where chemical substances were obtained, etc. It could be foraging behavior by deer, the choice of flowers by bees and other pollinators, the use of specific psychological tests, measuring the physical effects of stress, the synthesis of a chemical substance. How exactly was this done as part of the experimental study? For college students creating their own experiments, this section of the primary article can be very useful. If I, as a student, would like to do a similar study, the materials and methods section can provide useful guidance for setting up my own experiment. Results. In the results section, the findings of the research are described and displayed again in great detail. In addition to the written description, the findings are often described visually through charts, graphs, images, tables, statistical analyses, etc. This is another important section for student researchers. Again, a student doing a related experiment can use this section to compare and contrast their own results, and also get ideas for effective ways to display their results, useful for poster presentations, formal write-ups of their experiment, and more. Discussion conclusion. This section of the primary article brings everything together. The researchers are writing, this is what we did, this is what we discovered, and in the context of what research has come before, this is what our results mean or can mean. If we were to do this research again, what would we do differently? For others doing research in this area in the future, what are some fruitful ideas and questions to pursue? Overall, what is the significance of our study? Many students are familiar with the importance of reading the abstract of a primary article as a quick shorthand to get a sense of what the article is about. To gain more understanding, the next step beyond the abstract is reading the introduction and the discussion conclusion. The last section of the primary literature format is the references, the bibliography. We have touched on this before in other videos. The references are the record of the outside information used by the researchers to do their experiment, information often published as other journal articles. For students looking for other sources for their own work, an experiment, a paper, a presentation, if an article is relevant, the first place to look for additional sources is the bibliography of that article. Yes, primary literature can be hard to decipher, especially during the early stages of a student's college or university career. But even then, a primary article can be unpacked into those 5 sections: introduction, materials and methods, results, discussion conclusion, and references. Understanding this common format and understanding the kind of information found in each section will allow you, the student, or anyone to pull out useful information and better understand what the research is about. Use the science matrix.